Good morning and welcome to Adult Story Time. This month and for the rest of the summer, we're going to be reading from the book Fractured Fairy Tales. And these are stories as told by A.J. Jacobs and was featured on the Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends TV show. Today's story is The Tale of a King. In days of yore, there was a gathering of yokels who lived yonder. In other words, once upon a time, there were some people who lived far away. They lived in a kingdom called Nothingham, mostly because nothing ever happened there. Street sweepers did nothing. Postal workers did nothing. Even the king did nothing. "What are you doing, dear?" the queen would ask. "Nothing," the king would say. "And you?" "Nothing." "Guess what's for dinner, honey?" "Nothing." Yes, it was nothing again, with nothing on the side and heaping bowls of frozen nothing for dessert. One day it so happened that a storyteller who had been traveling about from kingdom to kingdom collecting stories came to see the king of Nothingham. "Here's a story about this guy Rumpelstiltskin," said the storyteller, lifting a sheaf of papers from his bag. "And here's one about some girl called Cinderella. When I get a bunch more, I'm going to write a book and call them fairy tales, then sell them for about 15,000 shekels to major New York publishers." The storyteller said he'd like to include a story from Nothingham in his book. Now the king knew that nothing ever happened in Nothingham, but he dared not tell that to the storyteller. He wanted more than anything to make it into a book and possibly get a piece of the action when it turned into a movie. So he struck up a clever plan. "You wait here," he told the storyteller. Off ran the king to the royal tailor. 10 minutes later, the king was in tights and a skirt and looked like a perfect fairy godmother, except for his heavy 5 o'clock shadow. Then off dashed the king out into the kingdom. He soon found what he was looking for, a poor but handsome young lad who was working as a hole digger in the fields. Of course, he wasn't working at the time. "Young lad, I'm your fairy godmother." "Honest?" said the boy. "Not really," said the king. "I cheat at cards from time to time, but I'm still your fairy godmother." With that, he told the boy to go to the castle where he would find the beautiful princess and that she would become his bride. The lad ran off happy as a lark, but the wily king took a shortcut and, changing into his royal robes, was at the castle to meet him when he arrived. "I am a lowly hole digger who has come to marry your daughter, the princess," declared the hole digger. "What makes you think the likes of you can marry my daughter?" "My fairy godmother told me so." "You get that?" the king said, poking the storyteller. I got it, the storyteller said, scribbling madly, knowing he was witnessing a scoop. He could fairly taste that congratulatory lunch at the Four Seasons with his agent. "If your fairy godmother told you, it must be so. But first, you must prove that you are brave. You must rescue her from the terrible troll." "But the terrible troll doesn't have her." "He will," said the king. "Just wait here." And dashing to the phone, the king called a terrible troll. "Hello, terrible troll. It's me, the king. Fine, and you? And the little trolls? Good. Listen, I have a little business proposition I want to make to you." And after making the deal with the troll, the king hurried back to his throne. "Now, as I was saying, you must prove your bravery by rescuing my daughter from the troll." And at that moment, the terrible troll leaped into the room, making a horrible sound. "Arr!" "Right on cue," said the king, satisfied he was getting his money worth. Snatching the frightened princess, the troll carried her out of the castle and off into the hills. "You getting this?" the king asked the storyteller. "Sure am," he replied. "How do you spell R?" The lad ran off after the troll, smote him with a stick, stole back the beautiful princess, and returned her to the palace. "I defeated the troll and brought you your daughter, sire," said the boy. "Now there's one more thing you need to do before marrying my daughter. You must go out into the world and make your fortune." Once again, the king rushed off and got into his fairy godmother suit. This time he grabbed the chest of gold from the palace cellar and buried it under a tree in the forest. "Ting-a-ling," called the king, signaling the lad. "There's a chest of gold under the biggest tree in the forest." The lad shuffled off to find the treasure, and the king hurried back to his throne to await the boy's return. And then, the out-of-breath king said to the storyteller, he found a chest of gold under a tree. He should be here any minute. They waited and waited and waited. Finally, after 6 weeks, a runner came to the castle to bring the news. The runner reached into his fanny pack and got out the message. "Hey, King," he said, "you know that young lad with the chest of gold you're waiting for? Well, he's not coming. He met a milkmaid from Altina on the way to the castle, and he ran off with her." "Sorry, King," said the storyteller. "I can't write a story without a happy ending." "Too bad. You had a good one going for you there." With that, the king flew into such a rage that he hurled his throne out of the window, and wham! Wouldn't you know it, it landed on an evil witch. Poof! She cast a spell on the king and changed him into a homely little duck. Upon seeing this, the storyteller got an idea and wrote a fine little fairy tale that almost everybody has read, The Ugly Duck King. And that's our story for today. I'm glad you joined us. Until next time, stay safe, be healthy, and have a wonderful week.